Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked into a man's eyes at the most intimate moment when he finally surrenders and wondered what he is truly feeling right then? Most people assume the answer is simple. They think he's only experiencing raw physical pleasure, that it's purely biological, just his body performing a function. But the truth is far more layered. What happens inside him at that moment goes deeper than just a physical response. It isn't only his body reacting, it's his heart, his mind, and even his primal instincts all aligning. For a man, that release is the most unguarded and exposed moment in his entire life. Think about it carefully. Men spend so much of their lives being taught to stay in control. From a young age, they are told to manage emotions, to remain strong, steady, and never reveal weakness. But in this single fleeting instant, all that control and restraint falls away. His body shows the truth in front of you. There is no hiding it. He cannot fake it. And in that raw moment, the emotions moving through him can completely shift the way he connects with you. What's fascinating is that most men will never put this into words. They won't sit down after intimacy and say, "This is exactly what I felt when I let go with you." Yet, if you watch closely, if you notice the subtler cues, you can read the feelings behind the act. Sensations like closeness, trust, vulnerability, belonging, and even deep affection are present. These are emotions men rarely speak aloud, but their silence doesn't mean they aren't real. Now pause for a moment. Have you noticed a sudden change in a man's energy right after intimacy? Sometimes he softens, becomes more affectionate, even protective. Other times he withdraws, distant, leaving you unsure of what it meant. That's because when a man reaches that peak, something profound happens. He yields. And yielding is not easy for men. They spend so much of their lives resisting it. Since childhood, they are told to toughen up, take responsibility, carry weight without complaint. Society keeps repeating, "Don't cry, don't be weak, don't show too much feeling." Slowly, they build walls. They craft armor to hide behind. That armor often remains even in relationships, even in the bedroom. But when he releases inside you, it's one of the rare moments when all that armor crashes down. In that second, he cannot maintain the mask of complete control. He can't act detached, cool, or fully composed. His body forces authenticity upon him. That moment is naked vulnerability. And this is where you need to understand something important. Vulnerability is not something men give lightly. It's rare and valuable. For many men, intimacy is the only place they feel they can truly expose themselves without fear of judgment. And when he allows himself to let go that way, something irreplaceable happens. A bond forms. Even if he isn't fully aware of it, he remembers the woman with whom he showed himself so unguarded. The act itself isn't what matters most. What matters is the freedom he feels in your presence to reveal his unfiltered self. Of course, not every man experiences this vulnerability in the same way. For the man who is genuinely connected to you, that release becomes an expression of trust. He feels safe with you, secure enough to reveal parts of himself no one else sees. That's when intimacy turns into more than just sex. It becomes a doorway into his truest identity. On the other hand, if he doesn't feel that safety, the vulnerability of the moment can feel frightening instead of freeing. Have you noticed some men suddenly grow quiet after intimacy, almost pulling away without explanation? Usually, it isn't about you. It's because the rawness of the experience unsettled them. They weren't prepared for what it stirred inside, or they didn't feel grounded enough in the connection to stay with it. But for the man who does feel safe and anchored, that vulnerability becomes magnetic. It's one of the main reasons men crave intimacy. Even if they can't explain it logically, for them, it's not only about physical pleasure, it's about that rare freedom of letting go completely, of not having to carry burdens, not having to hold the world on their shoulders, even for a short while. Imagine living every day weighed down by responsibilities and silent expectations, and then finally having the chance to let it all drop in the arms of someone who feels safe. That is what it feels like for him, and this is where your role becomes powerful. If you meet his openness with warmth, tenderness, and acceptance, he links that surrender to you. You become the person his body and soul feel safe with. That bond extends far beyond the act itself. This is why men often fall deeply for women who make them feel safe in their most exposed moments. The next time you share that closeness, watch carefully what happens. Notice the soft change in his eyes, the way his body relaxes, the gentler tone in his voice. That is the wave of vulnerability passing through him. It's one of the clearest signs of who he really is. Because the truth is, men don't fall in love with the woman who excites them most. They fall for the one with whom they can risk being vulnerable. That moment of release is the test. It shows whether he trusts you enough to see him without his shield. Most people overlook what happens in the minutes afterward. The climax itself is powerful, yes, but what lingers often speaks louder. One of the strongest emotions men feel then is closeness. And not just physical closeness. You could be lying next to someone and still feel distant if the connection is shallow. This closeness is deeper, emotional, even spiritual. For that brief window, it feels like there is no line separating you. Why does this happen? Partly because of chemistry. When a man reaches release, oxytocin, the bonding hormone, floods his system. The same chemical mothers release to bond with their babies. Oxytocin is nature's glue. It is the chemical of connection. In that moment, he is no longer just a man who had a physical encounter. He becomes a man emotionally tethered to the woman in his arms. That's why men instinctively want to hold on afterward, to wrap themselves around you, to resist letting go. Here's what's interesting. The intensity of that closeness depends on what he already feels for you. If there's no real emotional foundation, closeness may fade quickly or even turn into distance. But when the bond is genuine, the release only strengthens it. He doesn't want to let you drift away. He wants to keep your hand in his, pull you close, to linger in your presence, because he doesn't want that togetherness to end. You'll notice it in small details, the way his fingers seek yours, the way he draws you to him, the softness in his gaze when he looks at you. None of this is accidental. It's his effort to preserve the connection his body and heart confirm is real. For many men, this depth of presence is rare in daily life. Responsibilities force them to separate life into compartments. Work here, stress there, duties elsewhere. Staying fully present is a challenge. But in those quiet moments after release, presence is unavoidable. His mind stops racing. He isn't caught in tomorrow's worries or yesterday's regrets. He is simply there with you. And that raw presence is intoxicating. It's one of the main reasons he returns, not just for the act itself, but for how he feels afterward in your arms. Here's something many women overlook. Your response in those moments matters as much as everything leading up to them. If you respond to his closeness, if you let him hold you, meet his eyes, touch him gently, you deepen the bond. You send a message not only to his mind, but to his soul. You are safe, you are wanted, you are not alone. That strengthens the connection in ways he may never put into words. But if he reaches for you and senses distance, even unintentionally, doubt can creep in. He may wonder if he revealed too much, or if his openness wasn't received with the same energy. This is why men remember their most unforgettable intimate experiences, not for the thrill, but for the closeness and trust that follow, connection they felt afterward. That's the hidden reality. Closeness is the bridge that turns sex into love. A man might enjoy the physical act with many, but it is the woman who makes him feel truly connected afterward, who leaves a lasting mark on his heart. She becomes the one he associates with warmth, safety, comfort, and that unmistakable feeling of "this is where I want to be." So when you consider what men truly experience in those private moments, remember this. It's not just about pleasure, it's about presence. It's about two souls existing in a space where the rest of the world disappears. That closeness is what transforms intimacy from a fleeting act into a connection he returns to again and again. Not because he merely seeks physical release, but because he longs for the bond. There is a word men rarely say when talking about intimacy, yet it perfectly explains why certain women leave a permanent imprint on them: home. Not just the four walls or the roof over his head, but the feeling of home, that grounding, calming sense of safety, comfort, and belonging. Believe it or not, when a man releases inside you, that is often the moment he feels closest to that sense of home. Why? Because men spend much of their lives constantly moving mentally, emotionally, spiritually. They are pursuing goals, competing, proving themselves, and staying alert. The world demands so much from them. In many ways, they are always performing. But in this sacred private moment, all that effort disappears. There's no competition, no proving, no striving, just being. And when he feels accepted in that raw state, it creates the same sensation as sinking into a safe place he never wants to leave. Think about it. For men, the bedroom can feel like either a stage or a sanctuary. With the wrong partner, he's still performing, still trying to impress, still trying to avoid mistakes or falling short. But with the right woman, that release transforms the stage into a sanctuary. It's no longer about what he does. It's about who he is in that moment. And being welcomed in that unguarded state of vulnerability feels like truly coming home. This is why many men describe their most meaningful, intimate experiences, not in terms of the act itself, but in how they felt afterward. It wasn't the movements that stayed with them, it was the atmosphere. Did he feel judged or accepted? Did he feel he had to perform perfectly? Or could he simply exist as himself? That difference changes everything. And here's what many women might not see. Men crave that sense of home even if they cannot put it into words. They may pursue success, excitement, or even casual encounters. But beneath it all, there is a deep longing for belonging. When he experiences that through intimacy, it leaves a lasting impression. It tells his body and spirit, this is where I can rest. This is where I can let go. This is where I am enough. You notice it in his behavior. After release, instead of withdrawing, he might linger. Instead of detaching, he may want to cuddle, talk, or stay wrapped up in you. It's not just physical closeness. It's the magnetic pull to remain where he feels safe, where he feels at home. If you've ever wondered why some men seem drawn like magnets to certain women, this is the reason. It isn't just the act. It's the emotional refuge those women create. Of course, this doesn't mean every release leads to love. For some men, that depth of vulnerability feels overwhelming, and they pull back. They feel the pull, but run from it because it unsettles them. Yet for the man who is ready, that feeling of home is what deepens his bond. It's what makes him see you not only as someone he desires, but as someone he belongs with. And here lies the paradox. He spends so much of his life chasing, competing, proving, striving. Yet what softens him the most is the moment when he doesn't have to do any of that. The moment he can collapse into his truest self and into you. That's when he realizes he isn't just seeking pleasure, he's seeking belonging. So if you've ever wondered why intimacy feels so different with one person compared to another, this is the answer. Pleasure fades, but that sense of being at home endures. And for a man, that feeling is unforgettable. One of the most surprising things a man may feel when he releases inside you is love, or at least a sudden wave of deep affection that surprises him. That doesn't mean every man falls in love at that instant. But here's the truth. When there's already an emotional connection, the physical release magnifies it in a way that feels almost overwhelming. It amplifies the hidden emotions he usually keeps in the background. Biology plays its role too. During climax, his body releases oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. It's nature's mechanism for deepening attachment, making him feel closer, more affectionate, even protective. Even the most reserved, guarded man cannot avoid it. That's why right after intimacy, a man who usually holds back may say something vulnerable like, "You mean so much to me," or hold you with tenderness you've never seen. It's not random, it's biology meeting his heart. But here's the key. That wave of love doesn't come from the act alone. It comes from who he shares it with. If the connection is shallow, he may enjoy it physically, but the emotional surge fades quickly. If he already cares, already feels safe and emotionally invested, that release strengthens everything. It makes him want to hold you tighter. It makes him see you not only as someone he desires, but as someone he could truly love. That's why intimacy often accelerates the growth of a relationship. A man may not realize how deep his feelings run until after one of these moments. Suddenly, he's not just thinking about the pleasure, he's imagining life with you by his side long term. That's the power of that wave of love. It shifts him from the physical to the emotional without conscious planning. For women, noticing this is important. Men don't always express love as expected. They may not speak immediately, but if you watch how he looks at you afterward, how he touches you more softly, or how he seems more present, that's the bonding hormone at work. That's him feeling the emotional weight of what just happened, even without words. Remember, for the right man, that moment doesn't just satisfy his body, it opens his heart. It reminds him that intimacy isn't only about desire, but about connection. And that surge of affection is what transforms sex into bonding, and bonding into the foundation for lasting love. There's also something primal that awakens in a man after release. It isn't just relief, it's instinct, a drive ingrained for centuries. In that vulnerable state, many men feel a protective urge. They may not realize it fully, rarely verbalize it, but you see it in the way they hold you, check in, or ensure you are okay. Intimacy isn't just receiving, it's giving. When a man reaches release, he has shown himself in the most unguarded way. That awareness often sparks a drive to care for the one who shared it. He may not say, "I feel protective of you," but that's exactly what stirs in his biology and heart. He feels a responsibility, a deep wish to make you feel safe, valued, and cherished. Many women underestimate the depth of this instinct. You might think, "He's just holding me because he's relaxed." But look closely. It's not casual closeness. It's his body wrapping around you like a shield. His hand resting on your waist silently says, "I've got you." He stays attentive even when everything is over, because part of him wants to show you're not just an experience, you matter. Men don't always display vulnerability directly, but protection becomes their language. When he feels the need to keep you close, watch over you, treasure you, that's his soul saying, "You're important. I don't want to lose this." Those subtle protective gestures reveal the difference between a man passing through your life and one who truly sees you as part of his future. That protectiveness ties deeply to his sense of masculinity. Many men link love with responsibility. After intimacy, when he feels closest to you, that responsibility surfaces. He may check on you the next morning to make sure you're all right, or he may treat you with gentleness and care that wasn't visible before. For him, that moment is never just about sex. It's about proving through his actions that you matter beyond the bedroom, that you hold a place in his world and in his heart.